The story is of a lady named Tolani, an interior decorator on the island, who chose her career over her health.
Let us see how life gave her a wake-up call and a second chance.
My name is Tolani Adebayo. The first thing people noticed about me was not my beauty, it was my speed. I moved through Lagos like I owned the traffic light. At 39, I was one of the hottest names in interior decoration on the island. If somebody bought a mansion in Lekki, renovated a penthouse in Ikoyi, or wanted their Banana Island living room to look like something from a Netflix series, somebody would whisper, "Call Tolani." And truly, I delivered. I had taste, not ordinary taste, the kind of taste that made rich women jealous and rich men suddenly interested in throw pillows. My Instagram page was filled with beach aesthetics, gold frame mirror, imported chandeliers, and captions like, "Luxury is not expensive, bad taste is." People admired me, but nobody really knew me. Because after all the glamour, after all the clients and the invoices and the smiling photos besides marble countertops, I always returned home alone. My apartment in Lekki Phase 1 was spotless, everything arranged perfectly. The cushions sat upright like obedient children. The kitchen smelled faintly of vanilla candles. The television was big enough to host a football match, but the house was quiet, too quiet. Sometimes around 11 p.m., after replying client messages and yelling at artisans over delayed deliveries, I would sit alone on my balcony with a glass of wine and scroll through WhatsApp statuses. One friend celebrating child dedication, another posting anniversary pictures, another complaining about her husband snoring, and I would hiss. I too like marriage, I would say. Then I would sip my wine and tell myself I was happy. And honestly, I was. At least that was what I believed. The headache started on a Tuesday. Not serious headache at first, just small pounding around my forehead. I blamed stress. How person no go get headache for this Lagos, I would say. I swallowed 2 painkillers and continued working. Then came the dizziness. One afternoon during a client presentation in Victoria Island, I stood up too quickly and the room tilted. I grabbed the table. My assistant Faye looked worried. "Ma, are you okay?" "I'm fine, Jare. Maybe I haven't eaten," I said. But the truth was, I had noticed other things too. My heartbeat sometimes raced strangely. My left arm occasionally felt weak. And there were moments when I felt breathless while climbing stairs. Yet, every time someone advised me to visit the hospital, I would postpone it. "I'll go next week, after this project, when I'm less busy." Classic Lagos excuse. Even my mother called from Ibadan one evening. "Tola, this your voice sounds tired. Go and check yourself." "Mommy, I'm fine," I said. "You people of nowadays will use work to kill yourselves." I laughed it off. But deep down, something frightened me. Still, I ignored it because many hardworking Nigerians have mastered one dangerous talent: suffering stylishly. 3 weeks later came the wedding, a massive society wedding in Lagos. The bride was the daughter of one oil magnate, and I decorated the entire event hall. The place looked heavenly. Crystal chandeliers, white roses, golden centerpieces. Even the MC nearly forgot his speech when he entered. Everybody praised my work. "Tola, this is magnificent. You outdid yourself. Interior queen." I smiled proudly, though my head was throbbing badly beneath my gele. I hadn't slept properly in days. As the event went on, the hall became noisy. Music blasted. Waiters moved around endlessly. Guests sprayed dollars like Nigeria's economy was stable. I stood near the stage giving instructions to workers when suddenly my vision blurred. The room spun violently. I tried to steady myself. Then, bam! I collapsed like a sack of potatoes. One second I was standing elegantly. The next second I was flat on the ground. Guests screamed. Somebody dropped a plate of small chops. One auntie shouted, "Jesus!" Another person started spraying perfume in the air, as if demons were involved. Faye ran towards me. "Ma! Ma!" I tried to speak, but only slurred sounds came out. My left side felt heavy. Cold fear spread through my body, and for the first time in years, I was helpless.
Your blood pressure is 220 over 130.
What? That can't be right.
The hospital confirmed it 2 hours later. Stroke. Dangerously high blood pressure. The doctor adjusted his glasses and spoke carefully. "You're lucky people acted quickly." I stared blankly. Stroke? That word sounded too old for me, too serious, too permanent. But I'm only 39. The doctor sighed softly. Stress does not check age. Silence filled the room. For the first time in my adult life, I felt afraid of my own body. The left side of my body had weakened. Walking became difficult. Even lifting a cup frustrated me. And the hardest part? Going home. Because there was nobody there. No husband, no child, no sister nearby, just silence. That was when Amaka stepped in. Amaka had been my friend since university days. Loud, funny, dramatic. The type of friend who entered your house without knocking. When she heard what happened, she arrived at the hospital breathing fire. "You won't by yourself, Abby?" I managed a weak laugh. Amaka stayed. Not for one day, not for two, several days. She cooked, helped me bathe, reminded me of my medications, even forced me to drink ugly-looking vegetable smoothie. "This thing tastes like grass," I would say. "Drink it and shut up." Slowly, the house that once felt cold began to feel alive. Amaka's loud laughter filled the rooms. Nollywood movies played loudly in the background. The smell of egusi soup returned to the kitchen, and somehow, healing became easier. Then one Saturday afternoon, Amaka's younger brother came visiting. His name was Chinedu. Tall, calm, soft-spoken, an architect with gentle souls that could disarm legal stress. He brought fruits and malt. "Ndo, sis said you've been through a lot." I smiled politely. "Thank you." At first, our conversations were small, safe. Weather, traffic, Lagos landlord, bad Nigerian internet. But gradually, the talk became longer, easier, warmer. Chinedu listened carefully whenever I spoke. Not fake listening, real listening. The kind that made me feel seen. One evening during physiotherapy, I struggled to lift my leg properly and became frustrated. "I hate this." Chinedu sat quietly beside me. "You know something?" "What?" "You're still trying." I looked at him, and that matters. Nobody has spoken to me that gently in years. Recovery was not magical. Some days were terrible. There were tears, pain, fear. Moments I looked at myself in the mirror and wondered if I would ever fully become myself again. But Chinedu kept showing up. Sometimes with food, sometimes with jokes, sometimes just sitting beside me without speaking. And somehow his presence made difficult days lighter. Soon, phone calls became daily. Daily became nightly. Nightly became something neither of us wanted to define too quickly. Amaka noticed first. One evening she walked into the sitting room and found us laughing uncontrollably over a terrible Yoruba movie. She folded her arms dramatically. Amaka narrowed her eyes. "So this is why my brother suddenly likes visiting Lekki." I blushed. Chinedu laughed. And for the first time in a very long while, I laughed freely too. 6 months later, I could walk properly again. My strength returned gradually. I became disciplined with my medications, reduced stress, started eating healthier, even learned to rest. Imagine, Tolani Adebayo resting voluntarily. Miracle. I still worked in interior decorations, but now I delegated more.
No more midnight site inspection, no more surviving on coffee and stubbornness. And through everything, Chinedu stayed steady, patient, loving. So when he proposed quietly during a beachside dinner in Lagos, I cried before he even finished speaking. Not loud movie crying, soft crying, the kind that came from deep gratitude. The wedding was small, peaceful, no unnecessary noise, no competition, no spraying dollars like Central Bank was sponsoring love, just close friends, family, soft music, warm laughter, and peace. I wore a simple, elegant dress. Chinelu looked at me like he had found treasure. Maybe he had. At the reception, Amaka grabbed the microphone. I just want to thank God that this stubborn woman finally listened to her body before it was too late. Everybody laughed, even me, because it was true.
1 year later, Isa sat in my baby's nursery room. Chinedu entered quietly, carrying soup from the kitchen. Doctor said you should rest. I smiled. Yes, dear. Don't yes, dear me and start answering work calls. I laughed softly. Outside, Lagos traffic still roared. Generators still hummed. Life still moved fast. But inside our house, peace lived there now. I still design beautiful homes. But I had finally learned something important. A beautiful life means nothing if you are too busy to stay alive and enjoy it. And every night, I thank God for the day I fell. Because sometimes, what feels like the end of life becomes the beginning of living properly.